So let's see, 9.4, well, it just went up. So I will reset the trip. I'll reset the trip. Okay. And I will put it in dynamic. Alright, let's see. Hi everybody, welcome to Anything That Moves. I'm Thomas. A few days ago I posted a video about the advanced efficiency mode in this car, in the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, and today I would like to check the another driving mode, the dynamic mode. Now I think that dynamic is actually the mode that I've been driving in the least, because the times I really want to go for, have some fun, or to just play a party trick, I'm using the race mode. This car is four-wheel drive, so it's not so dangerous to use the race mode in that respect. Now, I normally work as a deck officer on a cruise ship, and but that means that I'm home quite a lot. I'm home about 5.5 or 6 months a year. When I'm home, sometimes I work a little bit extra on these road ferries, and now I have 2 days, or actually 4 days, that I'm gonna work. I'm gonna go to work back and forth 2 times. Okay, so I have the perfect, and I'm gonna go there on exactly the same times of the day, etc. And now I will compare the fuel consumption in normal mode and in dynamic. So today I'm using the normal mode. I reset the trip meter before I went from home, and I will do the same thing in 2 days when I go the next time. I will see how much how much more the car will actually consume when I use the dynamic mode. I'm not sure it will actually consume that much more if I'm careful with the gas, but let's see. The weather today is like pouring rain, so I guess maybe when I do the same trip in 2 days back and forth, it's gonna be a little bit more, the AC is gonna have to work harder, but on the other hand, there's gonna be less rolling resistance, because there's no rain on the road, and also tire pressure is going to go up because the tires are going to be warmer. So I think it's not going to really have an effect on the weather. I think it's going to be more or less the same for the car. Okay, we'll soon go into the tunnel here, and it's a downhill, so I'll let go of the gas. Now it's not gearing down yet, so you can still see that there's some consumption, but if I take it down 1 gear, then you see there's no consumption. Here there's usually, I don't really know what is going on here, but this is a 70 kilometer speed limit. You see that, wow, okay, people want to keep the speed, I get it, but then they kind of brake. They don't, if they're not driving here every day, I can understand it, but people who drive here every day, it seems as if they forget every day that there's an uphill after this downhill. So they don't start, giving gas in a timely manner. So you basically lose any speed that you might have gained, you see? So, of course, it takes a lot more fuel to accelerate in uphill than to just keep the speed and try to get on the gas a little bit earlier, so you don't come down to 60 or 55 or 50 kilometers an hour. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't understand. Most drivers are really so bad drivers. Time for some lunch. Okay, so we just got to work. Average consumption on the way here, 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers. So that's very good. Okay, so I had to work an hour extra and then I got stuck in the Friday rush hours on the way home. So result not brilliant, 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers, but still okay. So I think it is actually a chance I'll beat the on the Dyno. Alright, so let's see. 9.4, well, it just went up. So I will reset the trip. I'll reset the trip. Okay. And I will put it in dynamic. Alright, let's see. Now what I really like, when you let go of the gas in the dynamic, it immediately goes down to engine braking, you know, the zero consumption, which is, wow. I cannot really say it's saving you fuel being on the road like this in dynamic, but it's not really taking too much off either. Halfway, and an average consumption of 0.93, 0.92, so that's fine. I've had some traffic this time, which I didn't have when I went here last time in the natural mode, so I have good hopes that maybe I can get the same consumption when I come home on this whole run, because I was stuck in traffic on the way home yesterday. So let's see, maybe I can get a better run tomorrow home. So now I've been driving on Scurvy road with too much traffic basically, so I haven't really been able to, I haven't had a float in the drive as I would have loved to, but I think in conditions like this, I don't think, it seems as if the dynamic is not really ideal. What I like about it is the engine brake, that it immediately goes down on the engine brake when you let go of the gas. On the other hand, that has a negative flip side, because when you try to come, it's very difficult to get on the gas smoothly. And it's actually, when I had my two previous Alfa Romeos, they always had this problem with the gas, you know, that it was very difficult. There wasn't a smooth transition between no gas and a little bit of gas. You get that same thing when you have the dynamic. I mean, that's it's dynamic, so that's okay. I mean, normally maybe it's not intended for this kind of driving, but anyway. So when I get off the gas now, it will immediately go down to zero consumption and it will engine brake down. The good thing about this is that I don't have to use the brake, because the brakes are a little bit jerky. Just like the gas is a little bit not so smooth when you get on the gas. The brakes, on the other hand, the less you have to brake with this car, the better, because it is quite. I mean, what you have read or seen in the reviews, it's true. You know, the brakes are quite difficult. The more you can get around without braking, the better. So my consumption is now up to 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. When it's gone up quite a lot, I expect it to go down now when I'm out more on a rolling road. So let's see. My impression is that when you're out on a run like this, it's actually quite economical and dynamic also. One more thing, when you're in dynamic, the roads are good enough, you know, to keep the car in the hard suspension. Let's see here, because there's some bumps here. It actually takes away some of the nervousness when you know, transitions, when you go from right to left or left to right. You know, it's gonna I actually like it a lot. I think the biggest benefit is that, you know, it's got a really nice sound, you know, when you're in dynamic. And I think there's some kind of semi-half opening of the valve. I know that this what do you call it? Exhaust valve opens above a certain RPM. I don't remember what it is fully, but also in dynamic. But I actually think that it's kind of partially open already in this speed, because you got a completely different sound of the engine from the exhaust. I mean, really, it's difficult to. I don't think you can hear anything on this particular video, but I like it. I really like it. And of course, also in dynamic, as you are in a lower gear and the throttle response is different, it always has a response. And the truth of the matter is that it's just as well that I'm wearing my Sparkle driving shoes, which I am very pleased with. This is an update of an old video I did. I'm very pleased with the Sparkle driving shoes. I've used them on 2 road trips now, and the good thing about them is that normally I take off my shoes when I'm driving, because my heels get really you know, they start hurting after a while when I drive long distances. And I almost never used Speed Pilot, because it takes away a lot of the joy of driving for me, because as you might, you know, you might, I'm a little bit obsessed with this fuel consumption and so on, and it actually you're not saving fuel with a Speed Pilot. Anyway, what am I talking about? I don't remember. Never mind. So going downhill like this, let go of the gas, there's no consumption, and it's keeping the speed. Now, if I'd be in advanced efficiency mode right now, I'd let go of the gas and the speed would increase from whatever I had, like 100 kilometers. What I do like about it is now when I'm getting closer to this, like a lower speed limit, I can just let go of the gas and it will automatically, I don't have to touch the brake pedal, which is kind of nice, I have to say that. I like it. Not braking anything? No, I'm braking. Okay. So on this run, I averaged 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers in the dynamic mode. Exactly the same route back and forth as I did on the natural mode. Okay, so just to summarize, I did 2 runs to work with more or less exactly the same distance. I'll come to that. So I did 1 run in the natural mode and 1 in dynamic. Now, believe it or not, but the run in the natural mode was, I averaged 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and in the dynamic mode I averaged 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers. So the consumption was actually lower in dynamic than in natural mode. Now, the distance was exactly 166 kilometers in the first run in the natural mode and 165.6, so that was 400 meters less when I did the dynamic run. That is because I had to stop to fuel up the car just before I came back home on the first run. Note that I'm not using 98 octane, I'm using 95 octane, the normal standard fuel. I don't drive that hard in general, so I don't need that. I don't know if it gives you any extra protection, the higher octane level, but sometimes I use that. But for this, on this test, I've been using 95 unleaded. Okay. Now, so I'm saying that I use less in the dynamic than in the natural. Well, the average speed on the first run was only 54 kilometers an hour, and the average speed in the second run was 60 kilometers an hour. It's not a lot, but as I said, I was stuck in traffic on both runs, but on different places. I was a bit surprised because usually I don't have any problem when it comes to traffic when I go to and back to and from my job on the road ferry, because it doesn't stop or start during rush hours. Alright, so that means that, of course, the average speed was lower on the first run in the natural mode, and that means that I was stuck more in traffic. I was stuck in, or it was never stop traffic, it was slow traffic, but anyway, it means that the first run was less economical from that point of view. So I'm quite sure that I would have gotten at least the same consumption, or maybe slightly 0.1 liter lower consumption in the first run in the natural mode if the speed had been the same. But now this is what I have, so I was it was more economical on these runs. It was more economical in the dynamic. Average consumption meter is quite reliable. I've been checking it against when I fuel the car a few times, and when I fuel, I reset the trip and so on. So I think we can rely on the trip meter. Yes, I think the most economical run you will have if you combine the two modes. You can switch back and forth between them, and it also depends on, of course, what mode you're in yourself. What mood you're in, how you feel like driving. Positive things about the dynamic mode: well, you have an instant response. The instant response is from having, from the car usually being in a lower gear. Of course, that depends on the speed. If you're in higher speed, it's still going to be in the highest gear. But anyway, faster response. The throttle, the pedal travel is a lot. The throttle travel is a lot. There's another gearing to the throttle, so it means that it's much more aggressive. It's always, you don't have to push it a lot. Sometimes that is very nice, sometimes not so nice. Now I will go to dynamic because I want to use the engine brake a bit on the way going this downhill, so I don't have to use the brakes that much. Anyway, so instant response, engine sound. Wow, chassis is nicer with the hard suspension. Now, I think maybe the hard suspension is the biggest benefit. I really like it. It is really nice, really confidence inspiring. You don't get these strange. It's a little bit nervous. Normally when you drive it, that could also be contributed to the fact that I have a little bit high tire pressure. But anyway, when you're in the normal mode or the advanced efficiency, you don't have the option of the hard suspension, and it makes it feel a little bit nervous when you transit from turning right to left or left to right. So I really enjoy that hard suspension. If the roads are okay, it's not a problem. Another benefit you have, the one I'm talking about now, is that you have the engine braking, because it's always in a lower gear when you let go of the gas, and you will have an instant engine brake. Now there's a new lower speed restriction. I just let go of the gas, the fuel consumption goes down to 0, and now I'm automatically down in the 70 kilometers an hour without having to touch the brake. One thing that is negative with the dynamic mode is that, and that is the only thing I really can find negative about the dynamic mode. I mean that it's in a lower gear and sometimes will give you a higher fuel consumption. That goes without saying because it's a dynamic mode, unless you watch it. But the one negative thing I can say about the dynamic is that it is difficult to go from 0 gas to a little bit of gas. It's difficult to modulate the transition between 0 and a little bit of gas. It's almost impossible to do smoothly, and I like to drive smoothly, so that is a bit annoying. I mean, it has the flip side that you get the engine braking, that it's instantly turning off the fuel supply. But I think it should be possible to make that modulation more smooth. So if we go to the natural mode, and then what is positive with the natural mode? Well, absolutely with the natural mode, and sometimes that is exactly what you want. Maybe if you're on a long drive, you want to have a smooth and more relaxing drive. The truth of the matter is that when you are in the dynamic, the gas is the throttle is so sensitive, so you really have to watch the gas pedal all the time, and you also have a lower noise level from the engine. But I would say that in some cases actually you have a higher noise level, because when you're in advanced efficiency and in natural mode, it kind of sometimes it gets in such a high gear, and that high gear combined with some kind of with a little bit of torque requested from the engine gives it kind of this murmuring sound that makes it really the noise even noise level a bit higher. But in general the noise level is higher in dynamic anyway. What is the negative thing about the natural mode? Well, the one negative thing I really think is that you cannot get the hard suspension in the natural mode. I like the hard suspension a lot. There's only one downside with the hard suspension, is that sometimes when you drive over uneven parts of the road or these kind of lines asking you to slow down, there's some rattles in the camera. There's some rattle from this center console here. That could be a topic for a different video. Otherwise, everything is good with this car. I love it. What is the most fuel efficient mode to drive in? Well, natural and dynamic are more or less equivalent. What mode to use is actually more depending on the way you drive, what you want from the car. So I hope you enjoy this video. Trying to come up with more topics for the Quadrifoglio. I don't have many cars. I have this one in the V70, so I'm a little bit low on material for the channel, but let's see what the future has in hold. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next episode.